Hey everybody, Barry here again. It's been so long since I actually did any work on the truck that... Does it take metric wrenches or standard wrenches? It's been too long, so I'm gonna go do some work on it. But first, I just wanted to show that I put the orange hood on it. And now, man, I love that hood. I don't know why. It's so ugly and it's rough. It's kind of rusty, you know. And it's kind of crusty and crunchy and cracky, but look up there. Look at that. That's the Poodle Eater 9000s. Anyway, what I'm going to do today is try to make this thing handle a little bit better. Because it does not handle very well at all. I always like to think that it handles well until I get in it. I'm going up the highway like this, like, whoa, this thing rocks really bad. Especially at 1 kilometer an hour and under the speed limit. It does a lot of rocking and it does a lot of bouncing, and this truck is light in the front, even though it's got twin turbos and an iron V8. It is still fairly light in the front. It doesn't have a sway bar in the front. The sway bar is right here on the floor. It hasn't been in the truck since like 2019, and also I have 90-10 drag shocks in the front of it. So you know, let's just cut to a cutscene for a second. Took the hood off because it made it easier. But just to show you how bouncy this thing is, just watch. Now if I can do that with my squeaky little arms, can you imagine what all the wind going in under this truck pushing up, and then all the wind coming at that windshield pushing down, how uncomfortable of a ride it is. So I gotta fix it. So here is the sway bar that's been on my garage floor for like 3 years. Here is, I should have opened it, the sway bar bushings. And they come with the brackets. And the reason I needed these brackets is because I lost one. Now this is made for a huge sway bar. So I'm thinking that it's not going to fit mine. Yeah, I was probably right in thinking that. But I'm hoping that the bracket itself will still fit. Oh, look at that, it does. Well, that's great. I am going to need new sway bar bushings, and I really hope I have them on the shelf. Anyway, we'll skip that for now. Here are the links. These are Moog sway bar links that I bought probably 3 years ago or 4 years ago and never did put in because I took the sway bar off. And the part number on these, I think, is going to be K700532. That's how the Moog part numbers go. They start with the K. And these sway bar bushings were only available in DriveWorks DWK 7326B. This all fits to the 1979 Camaro. I have no idea what diameter this sway bar is. It looks like 1 inch-ish, but I can't say. So I'm going to take my handy-dandy caliper and measure it out one-handedly, which is not as easy as it looks. So 0.941, 0.93 something. So it's close enough to 1 inch. It's probably closer to 7/8. So I'll go up and see what bushings I have. So I just went up front and looked, and the sway bar bushings that I need, it was actually 15/16, by the way, for anybody who already knew that. So I have them ordered, and they'll be here in a week. But for the purpose of me not dying while I'm driving slowly to work, I think I'm going to put on these old bushings anyway, just to get it on. And it's only 4 bolts, so I just pull the bolts down, change out the bushings, easy as pie. It's right on the bottom of the frame, so we're good to go. Alrighty, let's see how bad I can mess this up, because I cannot remember which way the bar actually goes. So, I'm just going to stuff these bushings on there. And I'm going to use both new brackets, just because why not? And that one goes up there, that one goes up there. I don't know if these bushings are actually really bad, because, yeah, they're cracked up pretty good, but they don't seem loose. But I have to remember, if the bar goes this way, no way, it's not going to hit my rad, is it? Tell me it's not. No. You think I'd figure these things out before I start filming, so I don't make myself look like a complete dum-dum. But I guess we're learning together, huh? Now this is the support for my rad down here that I actually used the sway bar bolts to secure it to. If you're gonna go like that or not. I might have to change this around because I really cannot remember how this goes in place. No, oh, come on, man. I think it hits the shroud a little bit. If it does, it's not a big deal really, because I can just kind of trim it. I have trimmed things successfully in the past. Some things unsuccessfully. This is pretty good. This shouldn't be too bad. I don't really like the way that looks. Nope, it's going the other way. Don't care. I'll figure it out. So much hard grease all over me already. I didn't even want to wear gloves because then I'd get my gloves too dirty. Make that make sense. I will be putting shocks on this, like, oh no, I cross-threaded it. I will be putting shocks on this, like legitimate, like Monroe's or something. Because drag shocks sound cool on paper. And when you're drag racing, on a nice clean track, they are good. They work well. When you're on a road there's bumps and cracks, they don't work that well. Yeah, sure it'll work. Yeah, so when you're dealing with stuff when conditions like that, it's not always that great. I think I'll just put it in under and hope that it doesn't knock. If it does, I'll change it, but come on, be nice. There we go. So loud. Why so loud? I should have painted this first, but I'm kind of, I'm a little bit impatient. I was going to say at times, but I'm impatient all the time, so I didn't want to wait. So I got to do a few more plans over the winter. I got to start at my daughter Chloe's truck this winter. It's a 56 Chev. It's basically exactly like this truck, except she wants it painted, which terrifies me because I'm an awful painter. Just truly terrible. So we'll see how that goes. I'd like to do just another rat rod. I'd love to do another rat rod. It'd be so cool. Have two of them, just all different color panels and stuff. One would be a cool street truck, and the other one would be kind of race-ish. Race-ish? I shouldn't say that too fast. Kind of a race truck. That's better. Man, something's freaky here. I don't know why it doesn't seem like it's lining up. It isn't touching the fan shroud now, so that's all right. So greasy. Ugh. Have you ever heard a mechanic complain about grease? He's me. So, drop all the parts, Barry. Drop all the parts. Okay, so we have big washer, thing, big goes down there. Link number 2. The links on these older vehicles are so odd to install because you got all these parts, and if you're not familiar with it, you end up putting something in upside down or backwards. I don't use that much grease on stuff. Why? Why? Why do I complain so much, you ask? Oh, there goes my washer. And there's my spacer. Stop. And there's the spacer again. Okay, now we're getting somewhere, boys and girls. I can't wait for this thing just to be comfortable to drive again. It's been so long. I'm so excited. I've never been more excited for stock suspension. Just imagine to be able to go around a turn and not be like, whoa! Almost barrel roll. Oh, I forgot my little ground wire. Darn. Let's see if I can get that without breaking something. Get in there. Woo! Cut. So loud. So, I think that's right. I'm pretty sure it is anyway. I think the bushings will do just fine for now. The new ones will be in a week or so. And they're good Moog bushings. So they won't be flattening out and stuff. That's one bushing done. The other one. They won't be flattening out and stuff and knocking. And I might have to move this bracket down in under the ear here so it goes all the way up to the frame and flattens out better. But I'll jump off that bridge when we get to it. Yeah. Well, it might be okay though. We'll see. And now tighten up the link. Hopefully. Yes. And link number 2. It's gonna work. Look at this. We got a sway bar. And by the looks of it, it's going to clear the frame by that much. Yep, I'm going to clear the frame there. I think I got it installed correctly. And when the suspension compresses this way, that sway bar is going to come up and then everything should be level. These are nice beefy links. That's the nice part about it. I love them. Bushings in, all tightened up. Rad support is right back where it was, so that's perfect. I should have done a rock test on this before I put the bar on. I should have done that because it rocked like wicked. I could grab the top of the cab sideways and push, and the whole thing would rock 5-6 inches. So I should have done that. I regret not doing it now. But I can try it now that I have the sway bar on and see what it's like. That's something. So I don't have anything to compare it to because I didn't get video before this, but let's try a rock test now with the sway bar. I feel like I'm going to regret this. Wow. I wonder why vehicles back in the 50s didn't handle well. Oh my God. I'm pretty sure I just got one tire off the ground. Wow. I'm gonna be killed in this thing. So I'm kind of out of things to do today. I'm waiting for my sway bar bushings to come in. And I forgot to mention, when I do get my shocks come in, because they'll be here in a week, these are regular old road shocks made for 1979 Camaro. I will also be putting stock coil springs back in this, because a couple of years ago I cut the coil springs. I took 1 inch out, which should account for a 2-inch drop, which I think it probably dropped a lot more, but whatever. That'll get my oil pan up off the ground a bit. And Brian Day dropped those off to me. He took them out of, I think it's a Nova front clip in his like 49 Dodge car or something like that. So yeah, I don't know if a Nova and Camaro coil springs interchange or not, but I'm going to find out. And well, you'll be there to find it with me. But as for now, I'm out of things to do. So enjoy some footage from last week when I tried to figure out what is going on with this second wideband gauge I have on the left side. And we'll get into that right now. I have some stuff to figure out on the truck today. That includes why my widebands are reading differently, which I have to figure out. Now, before I start, I'm going to say that my left bank seems to be way richer or way leaner, way richer. It's all over the place. I think there's something going on with the sensor, because my right bank, which is my AEM gauge, is reading consistent, no issues. That's the one I'm tuning off of, so I'm not just throwing myself all around in circles. I did switch the sensors bank to bank. I just changed the plugins, and then my AEM gauge was freaking out and my other one was consistent. So I'm thinking that one of my sensors is bad. I have them in separate banks. This is completely separate here. This is the driver's side, passenger side bank. And the sensors are about a foot away from the outlet. This one here is a little bit closer, but it's not really an issue. And my merge is all the way down here, about 6 or 8 inches down, so I don't think that they're getting back feed from one bank to the other. I'm sure it is a possibility, but they should still be consistent. These are new Bosch sensors I put in at the same time. They're not the AEM branded or the Innovate branded sensors, but it is a Bosch sensor. That's an LSU 4.9 wideband sensor. And here's the sensor I used. It's got about a foot of cable on it. It's a little bit shorter than the AEM one, but it'll still work just fine. Here's the part number 17475, and this is a Bosch sensor. I need to do free air calibration on this, which means I need to plug this in out in the air with this plastic cap off it, of course, and calibrate the gauge to the sensor. Okay, I'm working on this left bank here. So step 1 is to unplug the sensor. Which is really hard to do. So I have it unplugged, and I'm not going to bother to put in this sensor yet, because I don't really need to for the calibration. And then we'll turn the key on, and O2E2 is right here. That means there's an error because there's no sensor on it. And I have to leave this powered on for at least 30 seconds. And then we turn the key back off. Then with the new sensor, remove this cap, because that heater, I'm pretty sure, makes this pretty hot. I haven't actually touched the sensor with the heater going, so I don't know, but rather be sure. And now we plug it into our harness, make sure it's fully seated, leave it out in free air, not in the exhaust. And we're inside again. Now we turn the key on. Now you can see that O2 HTR is here. That means the heater is warming up. And after 30 to 60 seconds, it should flash O2 Cal, which means it's being calibrated. There we go. O2 Cal just showed up. That's great. So that means being calibrated. And of course we're full lean because it's not in the exhaust. Over here on my AEM wideband, you can see that we're at 13.4 right now. So if you calibrated the new sensor in the exhaust, it will calibrate 13.4 as like full lean. So it's not going to work like that. So I'm going to let it sit like this for a couple of minutes just to be sure. And then I'll install the new sensor into the pipe and fire it up. There's a note here on their site that says you can disconnect and reconnect the sensor and the sensor cable for installation without losing your calibration. However, if you power up the SCG1 without a sensor connected, your calibration will be reset. So you'll have to calibrate the sensor again. Now I don't have the correct size wrench here, so I'm just going to throw an adjustable at it and unscrew that. It's not seized into the threads or anything. This is a new setup. So it should undo very easily. And I just gotta cut that zip tie off. So nice when this stuff unscrews easily like this. We can see that the sensor is not particularly dirty, but it does have kind of brown on it. It wasn't overly rich. Oh yeah, the sensor is actually hot with the heater hooked up. So I wouldn't leave the plastic cap on it. One thing that I want to add is don't drop this sensor or knock it off of anything, because there's a ceramic tip in here that can be damaged very easily, and then your sensor is defective. And I wouldn't trust its readings. So we tighten this one down enough to crush the washer, but not over tighten it. Plug it right back in. Now we're ready to test the new sensor. I've got the fan on here because this makes a little bit of fumes. Okay, let the fuel pump prime for a second. So now the sensor is heating up. One thing I like about the AEM is it's instant. It gives you a reading as soon as you turn it on. But this one, the heater takes a while to warm up before it'll give you any numbers. I am pretty rich at idle, but I'm still getting it tuned. Oh, here we go. So we got 13.2, 13.4. So my left bank seems to be a little bit leaner than the right side. About half a number maybe. But the sensor seems to be working. I may have to do some figuring out to see why this bank is leaner, but it's not horrible. Okay, now that that's done, I've got to tune the truck, but I have to fix this hose right here that you can't see very well. That's better. This hose right here that used to go to my catch can, but I ended up having to use it in a pinch as my turbo drain because it burned off and started throwing oil all over the manifolds. So I'm going to replace this hose and connect it back up to here again. And because I'm super lazy, I'm not going to jack the truck up. Just going to take this off like that. And it goes right into the front of the oil pan because I was going to use it as the second drain for my turbos. I ended up changing the plans and I said, maybe I'll just use this for my ventilation. That'll vent out the block pretty easily. And this is actually the only PCV vent that I have, so probably wouldn't hurt to put another one on it, maybe up top somewhere. And in my bucket of various parts, I gotta put those fuel filters on too. I forgot that. In the bucket of various parts, I have some stuff. I think that one might screw on there. And it does, so I'll be able to put my hose on this resealable one here. Well, problem. The hose that I'm gonna use is way too big to go inside this hose joiner here. So I have a plan, and it's a dumb plan, but that will go right over top of that threads that's in the catch can, and it will clamp on. There's no pressure here. This is not fuel, it's just air or exhaust. So it might be ugly, and it might kind of defeat the purpose of having AN fittings, but it'll work. In case anybody's interested, the part number is 28402, made by Gates, and it's 3/4 heater hose, which is not really what I'm supposed to be using, but it'll work. Alrighty, where are you? I don't know. Oh, there you are.
Yeah. I don't know how well this is going to work. It's a bit of a tight spot to get at. But if I can get it on that barb, I'll be happy. Definitely not ideal because this is a very long barb. It's actually a heater fitting for an old Chev truck, but it was pretty much all I could find. If I take the pan off again, I'll absolutely be doing an AN there, like a bulkhead. Oh, almost. Oh man. If I was sensible, I would have jacked the truck up. It's a tight spot. Definitely a tight spot. And yeah, it'll work. It doesn't leak oil out of there or anything, which is kind of funny because it is right at the front of the oil pan. And you think oil would splash up on a hard deceleration, but it hasn't leaked anything out of there before, so I'll just tighten this clamp up. Okay, that's tight. I'm sure this is a terrible angle, but this should be okay. So I'm just going to cut it off right there. This is kind of like a step-by-step of how using all the wrong tools and supplies can still work. And slip this on the hose so I don't forget. Now this is the kind of a tricky part, and I think it might work out, but oh, geez, it's not bad at all actually. The hose is fairly flexible. And from what I've seen so far, oil doesn't really have an effect on it, because I've been using it as my turbo drain now for quite a while. I'm sure somebody's going to get upset with that, but that's it. I really should upgrade my turbo drains. Because I don't really want this truck to burn. Sometimes you gotta make do with what you got. Done. How ugly is it? Yes. It'll work. So now, well, I've got a cap over this one because it's a double vent, and I'll use that somewhere. And so it's actually a filtered vent, which is really cool, so it doesn't suck any bugs or small animals. And over here, that's actually a drain for one of the other turbos, but the PCV right in under here that went to the back of the throttle body, that's not hooked up, so I can hook that to the other side of my catch can. Don't fall. I just found out that the catch can right here has a smaller one. I can hook up my PCV to the other side of the engine too. Has a smaller side, I think that's like a -8. So I can run a 1/2 inch to the other side, which would be great. And here is the 1/2 inch hose. That should go right into there. It looks like it might. That's 1/2 inch. CQ1725 is the part number. So I'm just now realizing that this hose has the correct inside diameter. You can see there. But the cap that goes on it has a smaller outside diameter than the hose that I'm using. So it seems like this is made for a really thin wall hose. And it doesn't seem like it wants to work. So I think that I can use a 3/4 hose end. Maybe. Okay, I got the thread on and it bottoms out. So I think I can use a 3/4 hose end and thread this one in there. And then I'll just have to get the bulkhead fitting to screw into the catch can. Look at this guy not using the correct non-marring $40 adjustable wrench on his nice black anodized fittings. Oh, the horror. Can you believe the madness? Please don't fall, Dwayne. Okay. Give it another click, click. I think I have the right size socket. Maybe. Oh, sweet, it hits the headers. Oh, here we go. Okay, I think I have the correct size. And now here's the bigger one. So this would be the -10, I think. Just screw that one back in. And now my incorrectly sized, correctly sized thing. My nice pretty little AN hose goes on there. And I won't screw that down all the way, but I'm gonna run it over across top of the engine and right into the barb down there. So I'm gonna leave as much slack as I can so that I can go in under here across the engine and away from the heat. So I'll cut it off probably longer than I need. I think I'll cut it off right around there. Now this is 1/2 inch where that point is 3/8, but it'll clamp down fine. If I cut this off 1/2 inch too short, I'm gonna be pretty upset. I was never great at eyeballing stuff. But I actually cut it too long, so that's great. That is great. So now we've got 2 ports of the catch can actually hooked up to the engine, so that's super cool. Goes down right along here into the valve cover. Like I said, when I take these coil brackets off, I'll be able to work on it. But I have to replace the valve springs in this coming up soon anyway, which I thought I'd have done like 3 weeks ago, but I don't yet. Mainly because I gotta get my nerve up to scrap the whole top of the engine. Because nothing here is easy to work on. There is no room for activities down there, and I might end up having to pull all of this out and pull the heads off in order to put lifters in it. And that kind of makes me sick actually, just talking about it out loud. Okay, I'm back. That may have been very confusing, and I apologize for the different timeline jumps, but I had started that video with plans to do something else that never got done, and I didn't want it to be lost because there's information there and there's stuff going on there. So I'm going to drive this truck home. If anybody has any insight on what could be going on with this Innovate Wideband, please give me a shout, let me know. It's a new sensor in there now and it's reading, it's just kind of messed up. I don't know what it is. It seems to be reading a whole point leaner than the right side. But also I do have an exhaust leak that developed since then. When I'm driving up the road, since I put the fender exit on it, I can hear it going, especially when I accelerate, it goes faster. So probably got a header pipe crack because I got like 100 flux core welds with mild steel exhaust pipe welded to stainless flanges. So there is margin for error there. So anyway, we'll figure that out at a later date. But for right now, I'm gonna go drive this thing home and go home and have some supper or something, or play some video games with the girls. I'm sure I'll figure something out. Thanks for checking out the channel. Thanks to all the new subscribers. And thanks to my YouTube members and patrons. If you want to check out my Patreon, it's patreon.com/stationroadratrods. YouTube members link is down here. And also check out my spring store in under this video for hoodies and t-shirts and stickers and all that cool stuff. And that helps put gas in this absolute pig. So thanks for watching. Have a great day, everybody.